We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Chris. Chris first says thanks for talking about... Oh, this is the James Loudspeaker show guy. Talking about James Loudspeaker. He wasn't expecting an in-depth conversation. He wasn't trying to sound like an ad, so he appreciates it. I know you do, dude. Then check better be in the mail, dude. This is like... We're going into triple digits worth of advertising going on. Triple digits, sir. Get on the horn with the big wigs. We'll take cash, check, or...
Money order?
I guess PayPal. I don't know. Chickens. If you buy me $100 worth of chicken, I would not turn it away. He's my kids eat a lot of chicken. He's trying to stay informed on the video side of things, so he'd like our thoughts on some of the newest ambient light rejecting projection screens. Do we have any opinions on how well they might perform in challenging rooms with large windows, or perhaps even outdoors? Honestly, if this guy, and I know he has been, because he's a big wig at James Loudspeaker trying to get some free advertising. He has been to CEDIA, and he has seen the light rejecting screens there. And they, even when they first came out, which was not too long ago, maybe 10 years ago.
Several years, though, at this point, yeah.
8 years ago, maybe something like that was the first time I started seeing them. They were really impressive then. And we're talking about on the showroom floor, like above the booth, you know what I mean? You know, with a half of a normal screen attached to half of a light rejecting screen that was whatever. And it was really quite impressive. Now, the problem that we come into here, and this is what we've talked about many times, is not how well they work in highlight, high ambient light situations, because many of them work very, very well, spectacularly well. The problem is as soon as you turn off the lights, you are hosed. These things have hot spots and no black levels, and everything ends up looking kind of weird. So do I have any opinions on them? If you are using them in a situation where it literally is always ambient light, and these things are great.
Right.
But if you are using them in a dual light situation, my opinion is go for something that looks really good in low light, and then just sort of live with it in the highlight situation. You know what I mean? For me, it's more important to have that good low light, deep blacks, accurate color. That is what I want. I don't want hot spotting. I don't want any of the artifacts that you get from some of these screens when you're in low light. But, it all depends on how much time you're going to be spending in the different lighting conditions.
Yeah, so over at Projector Central, this is almost a year ago. This is back in March of 2016, but they did, quite a roundup of quite a few of the ambient light rejecting screens that were out there, and it's certainly not completely comprehensive. There's others out there, but it's a good sampling. And what you notice is there is a definite pattern that emerges, which is that the ones that did the absolute best in the what we'll call worst lighting condition, meaning the most light coming in from the sides, light coming in from the top, bright lighting. The ones that did the best there did end up having the narrowest viewing angle. You had to be right in front of it. You couldn't move too far to the sides. And they did end up having probably the most visible texture to them, if there was going to be any texture, because they're using louvers to do that, or they're using a very thick screen coating to do that. So, for example, there's a really expensive one called the DNP Supernova. That's a really expensive ambient light rejecting screen. Its claim to fame is that it has no visible texture. You're not going to notice that you're looking at an oddly made screen. It also didn't perform super great in the worst lighting conditions. It was near the bottom, because it was it's got no texture. It's got a wider viewing angle. If you have moderate ambient light,
right,
does much nicer than a white screen. But in the worst lighting condition, couldn't quite handle it. The ones that did super well in the worst lighting, all of a sudden you could see a little bit more texture to them, and they had this really narrow viewing cone. I mean, there is no magic to this. You have to send the light somewhere. So there are trade-offs on these things. So the one that sort of came out in like the top 3 of almost everything was the Silicon Image Black Diamond. That is a really highly regarded ambient light rejecting screen. However, I talked to one guy directly on a forum who got that screen because he's like, you know what, I can never have complete darkness in my basement theater. There's always some light going on there. I'm going to have white walls that are going to reflect some light. I wanted to get an ambient light rejecting screen. And I said, I wouldn't necessarily go for it, but okay, it's your money.
It's your money. It's your room. It's your peace of mind.
He got that exact screen, the Silicon Image Black Diamond, paid a lot of money for it. And he hated it because he could see a texture on the screen. And he's like, you know what? My black levels are pretty darn good without this screen. And I hate seeing this texture on it. And I'm like, well, there you go. Right? Unfortunately, there you go. Right now, he might have been really happy with a Supernova because that wouldn't have had the texture. And he had low ambient light, not zero ambient light, but low ambient light, right? So he would have been happier with something that had no texture and didn't necessarily do as well in super bright light,
right?
But gave him what he was really looking for. But then he would have had to pay even more. So my thought on it is, they are amazing. They're amazing what they can do, but there is always the trade-off. The more ambient light you want to get rid of, the more you're going to pay for it with a narrower viewing angle and a more visible texture to the screen. That's kind of the pattern that emerges.
There you go. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.